What's going on, team? Proof here, and I'm back. I got married this last Saturday. It was a beautiful ceremony to my amazing wife, or now wife, then fiance. Cause that's how it works. But then I went on my honeymoon. I went to Disney World, Universal. Had a lot of fun down there. It was a beautiful time down in Florida. Relaxed, chilled, slept, ate a ton. My diet is ruined, which is fine because Thanksgiving is coming up. But now I'm back, and I got the rest of the recruiting reports I need to do since the rest of the set was spoiled while I was preparing for the wedding and on my way out. But I didn't get a chance to review them, so the time is now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start from the highest rarity stuff. I'm gonna work my way down to the lowest rarity stuff. Not counting the three triggers we got, because we got vanilla draw, the vanilla heal, and then we got the reprint of Silent Joker. So I'm not going to review those separately. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. As always, I'm going to read the card effect. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, give my opinions on it, and give a rating based on how I feel about it. And then we're going to wrap it up from there. And so I'm going to start with the Dudley Stride, which is Sadistic King Dudley Caligula. And his skill says auto Vanguard, counterblast 1, choose 2 cards from your hand and put them into your soul, and then you persona flip from your G zone with him. And then when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a heart with Dudley in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, reveal 11 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 3 cards with Dudley in its card name from among them, call them the separate open rear guards, and they get 2,000 power until the end of turn. And so some of the things that I wrote down in my handy dandy trusty dusty notes was that he's essentially a bigger version of Dudley Emperor, which was not a stride. He was a boss grade 3 unit that we had a couple years ago, which was the best option that we had at the time, which had a similar ability to call units out from your deck when it attacked. Except it didn't give power, but it was comparable enough to Caligula here that it made me think of him at the time. And with his ability, you can essentially plus off of it, but you want to be sure not to impede on your other cards as well. And what I mean by that is, in the sense of Dudley Jessica, she calls units out for free once you try to Dudley on top of her. But if your field is set up in such a way that how do I say it? Say for example you have a back row unit not behind Vanguard, and you call out a unit in front of the back row unit. When you attack with Caligula and you pay his cost, if you call out 3 cards, you're going to have another full column, and then you're going to have that open spot behind Vanguard, which if you put something there, you can't use it, or you can choose to keep it empty, at which point you just not minus yourself, but you gave yourself a really big break even, because you committed 2 cards from your hand into your soul to call out 2 new units. Excuse me. So Caligula can impede on Dudley Jessica in a sense, which is a negative for him. But he's really good with Dudley Turbo Lappler, which I'm going to review a little bit down the line, because he's a rare new strider, stride bearer, stride break, whatever you want to call him, that came in the set. I'm gonna review him separately a little bit later, but he combines really well with him in a sense, especially against control matchups. But he's really good with Dudley Jetter, because if Dudley Jetter is in your top 11 check and you call him out, if he survives through your opponent's next turn, you can then retire the Dudley Jetter, and then you can stride for free off of him, which can help preserve your hand as well in that form or fashion. And if you choose to use her, Caligula combines really well with Linda, the new septuple wall, septuple wall, I think that's 7, because it helps feed her cost by putting 2 cards from your hand to the soul, especially if they're Dudley cards already. So then you can help facilitate her cost as well to help preserve your hand even more. And so it kind of plays to the idea that Dudley is going to be a little more advantage oriented, way more so than Ryzen decks are, because Ryzen is very full speed ahead and charging. Well, and charging, but charging full speed ahead at your opponent, where Dudley plays a slower game, especially when the likes of Jessica come out, until you build up to the point to where you can blow your opponent out with the likes of Geronimo and Turbo Lappler and things like that. So some of the positives for him is that he's a good mid game option because he helps flip up for Jessica's GB2 skill, so it protects your Dudley units once they stick around. Calls out units so you can attack. So if you don't step on the toes of your other cards, you can call out 2-3 units, all of which can be active participants in the battle, which is what you want to do when you use his skill, so you don't hamper yourself basically. Let's see, really good for deck thinning, because if you are able to get 3 units out of your deck, you now have 3 less non-trigger units in your deck, so it compresses your deck, and now you're able to more likely check a trigger on your triple drive and subsequent turns after that. Let's see, and then it helps Linda with her cost. I mentioned that. Can be awkward with Jessica as a con. Another con, if you consider it a con, is that you have to pack your deck with more Dudley units now, because before the Dudley deck was really bad in focus and you had a lot of non-Dudley units that, not counting Mason and Jessica, the rest of your deck was comprised of non-Dudley units. And so with cards like this and the other Dudley cards that came out, you now give yourself the chance to put more Dudley units in your deck that are better than what they were in the past, slightly better, depending on what you think, so that you have to fill it up more with those units to facilitate his cost, so you don't whiff or minus yourself even harder off of his skill. So if your person has been waiting for Dudley stuff, this is a positive for you, a pro for you. But if you're somebody that's more on the Jessica side of things, you give yourself a chance to more likely whiff with his skill unless you put more Dudley units into your deck, which means you have to take out the likes of Misery or Chemist or some of your other grade 1 slots, like your Recklesses might become Dudley units, things like that. So you have to think about your deck build a little bit more, which can be a positive or a minus depending on who you are and what you want to play. And I'm not a huge fan of the 2K power boost, because by and large 2K power boosts aren't that great in the grand scheme of things, because Tiger Centurion had a 2K power boost, which he was a very middling stride. He wasn't used at all, unless under very specific circumstances he wasn't used. He was not your go-to option, such as Caligula might be for you. Eliza, which I featured, has a 2K power boost, but she has to be charging. But otherwise, you're not going to go out of your way to facilitate that, because 2K only matters on certain units, which is why you want to combine Caligula with the likes of Turbo Lappler, which can add 5K to your other units as well. But that's really up to your decision. I'm not a big fan of the 2K boost. You might find more use out of it than I would, but that's just how I feel about it. In terms of rating, I think he's a good stride. Like, he's really good for the Dudley deck itself. I give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. I mentioned that because I think he's not as good as Rise and Supernova is in the context of the Rise, in terms of that. I don't think he's as good as Rise and Supernova is in the context of his deck, but I think he's a really good stride for Dudley. The issue falls in the fact that he requires more of a Dudley-centric deck, which people may not want to utilize because they have to give up their bad ends, their miseries, their chemists, their reckless expresses, things like that, and it kind of forces your deck building, which may not be as good in a competitive sense as the bad end Jessica deck is. But that's my take on it. Hope you guys enjoy. Look out for more. I'm gonna get through the rest of these as the night goes on, so look out for those. Until next time, peace, be easy.